back to Living Life Unchained with your boy Aaron Saltzman
and Chris Sanders.
And today, guys, we are going to take you guys on a journey to one of probably the most prevalent things in living life unchained, because those chains that are around your mind, they're there due to one specific thing. And that one specific thing is exactly what we're going to cover on this episode, and that's fear. And so, Chris, I want to dive into what fear is, how it comes into our life, and how do people mitigate it to where it's no longer taking control of them so they can take massive action into living their lives to their fullest.
Well, Aaron, when it comes to fear, it's definitely the elephant in the room. We know it as false evidence appearing real. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know that when it comes to fear, it's an obstacle. It's either holding you back or something that you're going to get over, right? When it comes to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Now, there's many different ways that fear shows up. In your clients, Aaron, in what ways have you seen fear show up?
Yeah, I mean, in all different aspects of my journey in the fitness industry, fear shows up to a point where it's debilitating. And you have a choice when it comes to fear, right? So you said it, false evidence appearing real. But to many people, it is very real. And so you have the option. You can face everything and run, or face everything and rise. And so with that, the choice is yours. And what we're here to do today is to help you guys understand that fear a little bit better and to find tools in order to channel it. And so the answer to your question, man, is it shows up every day. I see it every single day. When it comes to a weight loss journey, fear. Can I do this? Am I capable of doing this? What am I even going to look like? Who do I become if I do this? That's a big one, because there's a fear in that as well. There's a fear in change of identity, right? So whenever I am somebody that I am today, there's comfort in that. The person that I'm looking to become, that weight loss journey I'm looking to go on, well, now there's fear on what happens when I become that person? What changes in life? How much harder does life get? What things do I need to now become? Now, how disciplined do I need to become, right? So I see it all the time when it comes to fear. Fear with a new PR, with a personal record. Am I capable of doing this? Can I do this? Right? And then with that comes failure. Failure is the obstacle to reaching your fullest potential. Failure is the reason that you're going to get up and try again. Right? And so I see it all the time in my gym setting, that fear creeps in. And more so a mental than a physical, right? And with that, so one of the ultimate greats, Bruce Lee said, fear is your teacher. And he was having a conversation. It was on a podcast, Muhammad Ali, two of the greatest, right? We can agree with that they've taken it to the next level in everything that they've ever done. And Bruce Lee said, well, fear is your teacher. And Muhammad Ali said, and I'm never skipping class. And that's what we want you guys to grasp from this episode, is that fear is not necessarily a terrible thing. And I'll let you kind of jump in on that. Like, how have you seen fear as a benefit versus fear as something that's held you back?
For me, I look at fear as a catalyst to do more, right? To try to look at it from a standpoint of understanding that it's not going to go away. So let me utilize it in a way that can propel me forward. When there was times where I was in a classroom or in a setting where maybe I didn't want to raise my hand, I didn't want to speak up, I would push myself and nudge myself to do it anyways. And then after doing it, knowing that although I felt that sense of discomfort, that I was happy that I felt it and then stood up. I think in life, we're always going to have it still, that voice is going to be in the back of your head, right? You're going to be thinking, am I enough? Can I do it? It's never going to go away. It doesn't matter your income. It doesn't matter your status. You're always going to have something that's going to say, that little voice in your head that's going to try to hold you back and keep you small.
And that voice right there is the inner beast, right? And so for fear, this inner beast tries to tell you, well, when this happens, then I'll be ready, right? And well, when I have the money, then I can start the business. Well, when I have the body, then I can chase the relationship. Well, whenever I have this standard that we hold ourselves to, when I have this, I'll be ready. This is where the All Start Mondays come in. And the all start when I'm ready. But we know both what happens with that. Well, you never start at all, right? You just stay at the starting line. You never go through the race of life. And I think that right there is the ultimate penalty for what fear is, because fear is not the end game, right? Fear is not the worst thing that can happen to your life. The worst thing that can happen is staying at the starting line and never starting and regretting that you never took the journey. Kobe Bryant said, journey is the best part. It's not the destination. It's what we do during the journey. It's overcoming that fear and what we utilize that fear instead of allow it to utilize us.
Absolutely. And I think that's why the subconscious is so important. And we talk about how to utilize fear in a way to make you move forward, right? When it comes to the subconscious, things as simple as affirmations, your internal voice, that internal dialogue, how you talk to yourself, how you look at things can ultimately shift the way that you go against those obstacles that try to hold you back, right? Like when it comes to the voice, you can either listen to an external voice of somebody not believing in you or somebody telling you that you don't have the ability to do what it is you want to do.
Yeah.
Or you can shape your internal voice to tell yourself that you have what it takes to get to where you want to go. And what you talk about in our last seminar, you mentioned, looking back at the things you've overcome thus far. When you have any sense or any, feeling of fear about what you presently want to overcome, you can look back at your recent wins, your recent obstacles that you overcame, and you can see your track record.
Yep. Yeah. Keeping your wins as a proof that you are who that you claim to be. And that's the thing is, like you said, fear is always going to be there. And internally, what we can do with that fear, we can manipulate this fear by saying, okay, I've had this fear before. It might not have been on the same topic. It might not have been to this extreme of a level because we've grown, right? And we've sharpened our tools and we have become something more than what we were then, but it's still fear. And if I were to be able to accomplish that with this fear riding on it, well, then why can't I do it here? I've done it before. I know that I've gotten through it. So for me, it's the standard of I was an employee and I was so fearful to take the leap of faith in myself to become an entrepreneur. There was so much fear built around that. And through that, went through the fires of it all, came out the other side, entrepreneur. And now that same fear is still there. And that fear rises up whenever I'm going from an entrepreneur to trying to sell out the Honda Center with our seminars. The fear is still there, but now I know, okay, I've gotten through this fear before. Let me check in with my internal self and let me be able to dictate what steps I need to do in order to keep that fear at bay. And in order to say, hey, no, I got this. I hear you, but I got this. And like you mentioned, it's important that we keep everything internal at first and build up our systematic approach on how we handle fear, because it's going to become external. What we do internally becomes our exterior, right? It shapes our environment, and we start to look for things that are relatively what our internal self is telling us.
I love that. Absolutely love that. As you mentioned your story, and I hope those individuals at home watching this can understand that you're talking that the biggest thing for you is internal, right? I think we live in a world right now, especially with social media, where so many people give too much power to the external. In your story, you're talking about internally what you want, how you're perceiving it, and how that's guiding you, right? You're always going to win when you have more interest in the internal versus the external.
Absolutely.
You got to first be able to better yourself, love yourself, have that ability to go all in on yourself before you look at how other people are going to perceive it. Now, as you mentioned, the external is also important, but to what degree? I think it's important as to knowing that your mind is a garden and you have to take care of it in a way that somebody takes care of a beautiful garden. You don't want just anybody coming to your garden and pouring any kind of toxic, right? Similar to the external when it comes to fear. If you're surrounded by people who are living their life in which, hey, the sky is always falling, you're going to have that same mindset that the sky is falling. But if you're internally locked in and you're solid in regards to always giving yourself love and care and knowing that you're doing the best that you can, and on the external side of that, you surround yourself with people who see what you're doing, who support what you're doing, you're going to be able to be in a positive place internally and externally.
Absolutely.
So it's very important that when it comes to fear, knowing that your fear can also be shaped externally. Primarily it's going to be internal, but the outside forces external.
Yeah, and the internal is, even though it's all stemmed from the internal, well, that stem hits your regulates your nervous system. And your nervous system decides what actions you either run from, right? So it's fear is literally your nervous system reacting to life, right? It's trying to keep you safe. And so if your nervous system is skyrocketed because your internal volumes are so high and you're placing all this fear and doubt and insecurity on yourself, well, now your nervous system is going to reflect in the outside world. Now I'm going to run from things that I find scary, right? Because fear used to be the ultimate say-so of whether you lived or died, right? Fear was given to us to escape the saber-toothed tiger, right? When cavemen were back in the day, fear was driven to help you know when to fight or flee, right? Am I going to sit here and fight this, or am I going to run from it to survive? And fear is exactly that in our everyday life. And the thing is it's no longer needed to that capacity. But our nervous system doesn't recognize that. Our nervous system kicks in and says, oh my God, what do I do in this situation? Do I need to run? Do I need to fight? Do I need to paralyze myself? Do I need to curl up into a ball? And that's what fear does to us on the daily basis. And like you mentioned, it used to be, it was so important back in the day to have an environment around you of people. It was so important to be surrounded by people and kind of mold together, because you're better in a group, right? Your higher chance of survival is in a group setting. And so we allowed that to now pour into our life now, where we're looking to validate ourselves with the environment of people around us. We still hold ourselves to that level that's no longer needed. It used to be to keep us safe. It used to be fear driven. Well, now that fear is still inside of us, and we start to ride and mold to the people around us because we feel like our environment dictates our safety.
Yeah, definitely. I think the environment's going to be huge. When you think about groupthink, group wisdom, there is value in that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, people can't be held back on their environment if it's the wrong environment.
Yep.
So if you're surrounding yourself around individuals who are more likely to stand up against fear in their life, you're also going to win from being with those individuals rather than being with people who are succumbing to fear, right?
Yeah, they mentioned that if you are, whether it be depending on the situation of life, but if you're the strongest, the smartest, the most successful person in the room, you're not in a room, you're in a cage. And it's because you're locked in. And these people are what's holding you back. So your environment plays a huge role in whether or not you're going to live to your ultimate success or your fullest potential, or living life unchained, or even take the decision to put your foot into that door. And so help me out here with explaining to people, how do you get away from those environments? What do you do to be able to check in? How do you first off even recognize that you're in a toxic environment that's based on your fear of your own life? And how do you escape it?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to recognizing the environment, you get that sense when you're talking to someone or when you're in a situation, like you get that sense of, I feel like, hey, this is a high for me. I feel really good. I feel positive. I feel upbeat, optimistic. And then you also know when you're in a situation where you feel pessimistic, you feel like you're beaten down, you feel like individuals are holding you back, and it's a lot of negative, right? When you realize that, you have to be able to make change. I'll give you an example in personal life. If I talk to somebody, whether it be a friend or a relative, and somebody's talking negative talk and it's, woe, it's me, I have enough ability in myself to be able to tell when to cut a conversation, right? If somebody's trying to pour negativity into my garden, hey, my garden is closed.
Yeah.
You can't bring that in here, right? Not saying I don't have empathy or compassion for other people going through situations. Absolutely do. If we're having conversations in regards to what the situation, the problem is, and how you want to overcome it, and the obstacles, the ways that you plan on attacking that obstacle, by all means, I'm there. But when people start diving into like just, well, it's me, they're just looking for somebody to sit in the mud with them and to stay in that mud and continue to reproduce more mud.
Yeah.
I don't allow myself to be in those situations. I think for us as individuals, we have to be mindful. We only have so much time, so much energy, and you got to be willing to decide, am I going to give my energy towards something that's draining it, or am I going to put my energy towards something that's going to grow and multiply it?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that when you're in an environment of people and you're not, and you're just living your everyday life, right? You're going out, you're doing the things that they're doing. It's important to check in and say, do these people hold values in their life that I look up to? Do I want things that these people want or have already accomplished even? Do I hold myself, or do they hold themselves to the standard of the level that I want to hold myself to the person that I want to become? So I look at it like that of in my environment is, do I want to become like this person? Because whether it's good or bad, I'm going to mold, right? It's a two-way street. Like I'm going to take some of them. They're going to take some of me. And I remember back in my old days, I had a good group of friends, but all we would ever do, the discussion in the room was either on sports or talking shit. That was it. It was one of the two. It was sports or talking bad about each other, making fun of each other left and right. There was never any growth in there. And I knew, okay, I wanted to be at a level in my life where I was going to see substantial growth. I had to check myself. Am I in the right environment? And fear can keep you stuck in that environment, because fear, you have to look fear in the face. And again, you can either run from it or rise from it. And if you run from it, you're going to stay within that environment and say, oh, I'm comfortable here. And I'm afraid to step outside of this zone. But if I rise from it, then you can look at yourself in a better light and start to walk away from the environments that are holding you back. And another route of knowing your environment is, are these people willing to go where you're trying to go, right? Maybe they're not the ones paving it, or they're not the ones driving you, but maybe you're the leader in the group if they're willing to follow.
Yeah, definitely if they're willing to follow. But if they're not, you got to be able to detach. And when it comes to that fear, the best way to get confident about attacking it is movement. Movement, that readiness, preparing. The more you prepare, the better you feel before you face the obstacle, the better you're going to be able to mentally get over that fear and all that holds you back.
And jump into that a little bit. Movement. What do you mean by movement? Explain how people can use movement and action to minimize their fear.
Yeah, definitely. So whether it's the affirmations and saying the talk, the self positive talk, or whether it's actually preparing to do the work in which is needed to get over the obstacle. Like, so for example, if I have a fear of going to the beach and taking off my shirt and feeling like when I take off my shirt, people are going to judge me, I feel less fear when I have more confidence. And I get more confidence the more I prepare and become ready to go to the beach. And that could be done as simple as changing my diet, going to the exercise, those things that I do to prepare my body.
I love it.
And get my mind ready for taking my shirt off at the beach will help me build that confidence. So when I go to the beach and I see that obstacle of fear of I'm about to take my shirt off, now I feel better because I prepared and became ready for that.
Yeah, and I love what you say there is do the internal work in order to get the outcome of what you're trying to get. And if something drives fear, well, okay, let me sit with that for a second, right? We're so, in today's life, we're so designed almost by social media and things like that for instant gratification and for instant. We want everything instant. We want to do things now, right? But sometimes we got to sit with ourselves and we got to let it soak in, and we got to learn from it and say, okay, the fear's there and it's loud. And what can I do? For instance, the beach. What can I do in order to get myself to not feel that anymore? Okay, well, if I was in a little bit of better shape and I worked on that, well, now that fear would dial way down when I'm taking my shirt off, right? So you want to check in with yourself. And there's something I want to go over here. And I know you're going to be very familiar with this story. And so I'm going to tell a story that maybe not everybody else is familiar with. So you know your guy, E.T., right? One of the most motivational speakers out there, talks very big on accomplishing success. Well, he tells this story where this guy comes to a guru and he says, I want to be just like you. I mean, everything you have, how do you do it? All the money, like the fame. I want to be just like you. Like, teach me your ways. And the guru says, meet me at the beach tomorrow, 4 a.m. So the guy said, okay, I'll come. He comes in, suit and tie, ready to go. Success is on the horizon. He's going to learn from this guy. And little did he know he should have wore shorts because he was getting in the ocean. And so the guru brings him out about waist deep into the ocean and says, how bad do you want to succeed? And he's like, real bad. I want this, man. I'll do anything. Brings him out a little deeper. Neck, how bad do you want it? I want it more than anything. Let's do it. What do you got me doing? And then pulls him under the water, starts to drown him. And this guy is just flailing his arms and grabbing him and trying so hard to survive and breathe. And finally, right before he's about to pass out and die, Guru lets him up. And he goes, "What did you do that for?" And the Guru says, when you want to breathe, or when you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. And I love this story. The one thing it's missing is fear. What E.T. does not talk about is the fear that's driven into this man to where it's going to cause paralysis by analysis. When he's under that water, he's fearful. He's drowning. He can't breathe. He's trying to grab anything, right? So he's in paralysis mode. He's not taking any action or any action that's going to do him well. And so what's missing in this story is there's approaches to fear. And if he would have learned the tools of how to breathe better under the water, if he would have learned the tools of calmness, of steadiness, of allowing to not waste energy, right? Whenever you're flailing your arms and trying to succeed or trying to breathe, well, then he'd have a better chance of staying there for a longer period of time. And what I relate this to is fear in life, is people are so fearful, they're paralyzed. They're flailing their arms. They're just trying to hold on. But if they were to learn the mechanics of how to overcome their internal dialogue and how to overcome that fear, well, then they can sit there with calmness, be able to breathe a little bit better under that water to give them longer time to get done what they need to do to prove to themselves that fear is no longer needed.
Absolutely. Right? That's a great story. You know what? I've never thought about that in a sense of the fear part. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. When those situations happen, because again, in life, they're going to arise. Situations are going to happen. The uncertainty. Yeah. You can change fear to uncertainty, right? They're going to happen. But how you control yourself in those moments can be the biggest difference between you making it out successfully or you not making it out successfully. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, when it comes to preparing, like I have a go bag when it comes to if a fire was to happen inside of my house, right? Whether it was a situation where somebody was to break into my house. Yeah. I have things set in place to be able to combat that. Mm-hmm. Am I expecting it to happen? No. But if it does happen, I have things in place to be able to combat those. Yes. Right. And that alone gives me a peace of mind. And again, going back to the prepared and readiness, you know, not looking for the negative of the situation to happen, but being prepared to know if something was to happen, I'm ready to go.
There's beauty in certainty within uncertainty. And fear shows up in life when things are uncertain, right? When you have uncertainty around you, whether it be a goal or fear that, you know, something's going to happen to someone you love, right? That's a lot of uncertainty. But where you can create certainty, it allows fear to be mitigated. For instance, those systems that you have in play. The fire breaks out. That's uncertain. But you're certain that you have a system in play that you're going to take action on when that uncertainty arises. And so you have learned to do that in your everyday life. Like if, for example, you were to get injured, there's a lot of uncertainty there. But you have certainty that you know what you're going to do with that injury and how to make sure that you still stay on the task of becoming the best version of yourself with that injury.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think we as people got to know that nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be 100% certain. Yeah. Right. But we still have to be willing to move forward. You know, when you're young, your brain doesn't fully develop. It's not fully developed at that point in time. Your brain doesn't fully develop to the average age of 25. That's why we see most people, and especially men in life, where they have these grandiose ideals when they're young. They feel like they can accomplish anything and take over the world. But as they get older in life, your brain is fully developed and things start to set in where you believe like these walls these are what I really live within, right? So when we can take that mindset to be young again and tell ourselves that we can still achieve certain things, we're less likely to succumb to that fear, to that feeling of uncertainty, right?
Let me ask you this, and this is something that I see too often. What do you tell the person that they've fallen into their circumstances and they believe that this is just the way life is? They have they have let fear override their entire system and take over. Because this is the thing. Somebody's driving your system. Whether you have put it in play and you have hands on the wheel and you're in control, or fear is driving the system. One of the two is driving the system. And so what do you say to somebody that is completely folded to fear and just said, hey, this is just the way life is. My financial system, you know what I mean? I blame my finances. I blame my parents. I blame my outside world. I blame my environment. What do you say to these people to help them understand that you are not stuck?
Yeah, definitely. For me, the reflection always has to start internally.
Mm-hmm.
Internally, when you look at what it is that you do have, don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. You know, whether you're here to live to see another day, gratitude, right? Whether you're here to see another day, you have the breath in your lungs. You have a place to put your head at night. You have shelter. You have food that you ate today. You have nourishment, right? To look internally. I think a lot of people can be able to look at themselves differently when they have gratitude and they're appreciative of what it is they do have. It's easy, especially in the world that we live in today with social media, to look at somebody else's situation and think, man, if I only had that, if I only had this Ferrari, if I only had that type of home, if I only had this type of lifestyle. Well, while you're looking at that, you're missing out on what it is you currently have. So I think for an individual who is down in the dumps, let's say, and they're thinking like, well, it's me, or I feel like I got it really bad, you know, there's somebody who would gladly trade places with you, right? If there was a jar and we can all put in our ailments, right? The things that we're facing, you wouldn't dare want to put your stuff in that jar and take out somebody else's situation. You may pull out something that says, hey, I'm an individual who has cancer, terminal, I only got X amount of weeks to live.
Right.
If you were to get that, I'm pretty sure you'd be scrambling to go back to whatever situation you had previously that made you think that you had no opportunity to, you know, have a better life or to be able to have the ability to overcome your fear.
Absolutely. It goes back to the all-time saying is the grass is not always greener on the other side, and it's green where you water it, or that their grass might look greener, but their electric bill is through the roof, right? So it's like, you just never know. You never know what somebody else's life is, what inner beast that they're facing or what they're going through. And I love the analogy of the jar 100%. You just never know. Like we internalize so much that we think our problems are the end of the world. And then what other people are facing, I mean, homelessness, starvation, sickness, right? All of a sudden your problems, not so bad, right? And I think the answer to is finding, like you said, gratitude within your day. I saw this thing not too long ago, and it really resonated. I loved it, and I try to use it to the best of my ability, is to have gratitude. Anytime something pops up into your life that you're feeling down about, in the dumps, I mean, it could be anything from your day-to-day to losing your job to, I don't know, running out of gas, whatever. But he said, yes, that one thing is tough. But what I want you to do is find 3 grateful things that are built around that one thing. For instance, you ran out of gas. Damn, this sucks. I'm late to work, whatever. Well, at least I got a car. There's 1. Okay. At least I have a job that I'm driving to. There's 2. Okay. At least I'm healthy enough to be able to, you know, take care of the situation financially. There's 3. Right? So finding 3 things that you're have gratitude for to minimize that one thing that is holding you down in the dumps. Because that's the one thing when it comes to fear, is fear first takes control, and then it actually makes you believe that that's who you are. And it makes you in a situation of life where you are just living based off of this fear. And it is now your identity. Your identity is fear. Your identity is negative self-talk. Your identity is believing that you got the short end of the stick. And so it's about finding ways to keep this voice of fear down, to showcase your best self. I have this thing that I do here, and I'll show you guys in a second in my notebook, where I say it's either the fear you or the for real you. And one of those 2 is going to be the inner voice that's talking. And so what I do, guys, that I highly recommend, this has helped me so much in my life, what I recommend is writing down what you're fearful about. Literally, as it comes to your mind. Like, I'm fearful that I'm not going to be able to succeed in this endeavor that I'm trying to accomplish, and let those inner voices come out, right? And this is why I'm fearful, and this is why I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm not good enough, right? Talk as if you are the fear, and then override it. And so what I do, and again, highly suggest taking this on, guys, is you write out your fear, your inner voice, and then you write from a position of higher power. You take a break, you come back, you sit down with it, and you write the real version of you. Well, this is why you do get to become this person. This is why you deserve this, Aaron. This is why you have proven time and time again that you are this and that you can accomplish this. There's nothing holding you back. This fear is not going to be my ultimate say-so. And you differentiate them. Highlighted version, highest self, fear version. And now you have this internal dialogue within to be able to decide which voice that you want to spend your day listening to.
Man, I love that. It's, I think it was one of the questions I was asked recently was, if you got two lions inside of you or two wolves inside of you, one's trying to be positive, one's trying to be negative, which one's going to win?
Yeah.
It's the one you feed, right? The one you feed, the one that grows, the one that's going to win. Internally, when it comes to fear, I feel like that's how you overcome that uncertainty.
Yeah.
The systems you create for yourself, right? Those affirmations, preparing yourself, getting more in that readiness pocket, right? The way that we look at things and how we look at ourselves will determine our path and where we end up going. Before you look for external validation, we want you to do things that are going to be more internal focused, right? Similar to writing it down, right? Put out that negative talk and then overcome that negative talk. That's so powerful, right? A lot of times, if you're feeling negative talk about yourself, most people want to go ask somebody else who's going to be negative. And they're just going to confirm that negativity, right? They're going to confirm that uncertainty. They're going to confirm that fear. If you really want to win in life, it's important to first start internally. And before you share externally, make sure you have people around you who want to see you succeed and want to see you win. Not saying I want you to have people around you that's going to give you false praise or false things in regards to like, oh man, you could jump off that cliff and you're going to just fly. No, I want those people around you. I want people who are going to be real, but at the same time, people who want you to grow, people who want to pour into you in a positive way. Yeah. And when you do that, you're less likely to set yourself up for failure externally by having people in your life who want to see you, succumb to those pressures. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't want you to do as good as them. They want you to do good, but not too good. Right. So be mindful of who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, internal first. And what has helped me in my journey of living life unchained is those chains they're around your mind. Those chains are holding you back within. And so what I like to do is I like to bring my inner beasts, my inner chains to life, and now bring it on the outside so I can visually see it, internalize it, and then make way of whatever it is I want with it, right? For example, journaling. Perfect way to take what's going on up here and bring it to life. Because then now you can, instead of just keeping everything bottled in and having this argument with yourself, right? This inner beast versus the real you, the fear you or the for real you. Well, now I bring it to life and now I can internalize that piece. Instead of this internal war, I can now be this for real version of myself looking at the fear itself. And so fear, again, guys, it's something that can literally take control of your entire life and dictate whether or not you're going to not only lead you to success and the things that you want to achieve, but do so in a positive way to where you're actually enjoying the journey. Because just because you are choosing to succeed as much as you want to breathe, like our boy E.T. says, doesn't mean you're enjoying the journey. So many people go about succeeding and just pushing through and grinding, a David Goggins kind of mindset, pushing through all the pain, but without any joy in the process. Like I said, Kobe said the journey's the best part. So shouldn't we try to embrace it and enjoy it? But so many people look at life as, all I want to do is succeed. I don't care how I get there. I don't care if I'm miserable, right? And so again, guys, internalizing to make sure that this fear is not driving your life.
Yeah, definitely. And again, when you feel that sense of fear, just know that it's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
In regards to driving your life, don't let it be the actual thing holding the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the ability to look at things and decide and put a name on what it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything that's an obstacle you have to label as fear.
Yeah.
You can label it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
You can label it as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Right. So,
no, that's great. They even say, excitement, the brain can't tell the difference between something that's exciting and something that's fearful, something that they're nervous about, right? It doesn't know the difference between nervous and excitement. And so you can utilize your own verbiage to be able to kind of switch things around, like you just said. It's like, well, maybe this obstacle isn't fearful. Maybe it's an obstacle of something that I'm challenged to get over, right? And so the way that you speak to yourself, your internal dialogue, is so important, because negative self-talk, I mean, that'll feed fear. Like you said, which lion or which wolf are you feeding, right? And so negative self-talk will completely demoralize you and make you fall to fear.
yeah, I think when you look at things, it's like, this is a blessing. This is an opportunity for me to be able to showcase, my lineage of where I come from. This is an opportunity for me to showcase how great I am. This is an opportunity for me to showcase
Yeah.
that I'm able to make it through the obstacles that people put in front of me. How we perceive things is huge. And I think at the end of the day, you get to decide on how you're going to perceive something. So for individuals at home, listening to this podcast, watching on YouTube, however you're getting it, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, if this is something that's valuable to you, make sure not only do you subscribe, but at the same time, you like and share with other people.
Yeah, guys. Like you mentioned, positive mindset is everything, and whether that be and I'm telling you, it works as much as it seems tedious. But positive affirmations and speaking to yourself in a kinder manner. There was a a thing on what is his name? He carries a picture of himself whenever he was a child, right? And he carries that everywhere he goes. So whenever he starts to speak poorly to himself, he looks at that picture and reminds himself to talk to himself in a kind. He would never talk to himself as a kid that way. So look at yourself as the inner child and speak to yourself as if you were to speak to your young self, because that young self is in there, and that young self deserves love and respect. And if you're only beating yourself down, well, then fear is going to creep into your life, and it is not going to let go. And you're going to ride the rest of your days folding to that fear. And so if you guys want to live your life unchained, keep following Chris and I on this journey, and we're going to help you guys. This is just one of the tools of the things that we're going to help you guys get over. Fear is one of the inner beasts that we are going to not only be able to get over, but be able to master, so we can start taking massive action to get to that next level.
Yes, sir. Stay tuned. More information coming out soon for you guys to be able to grow and help other individuals grow so you can live life unchained.
Yep, guys, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace.